Okay, I'm back now and I've acquired a series of glassware which I am unreasonably proud of, and we're going to get right into this. First up, I'm going to be drinking the Moa 5 Hop English Ale. The Moa Brewing Company is based in Marlborough, which is where a lot of New Zealand's great white wines come from. So the standard's pretty high down there. Pulled up a bit of info from Rate Beer, and this it's got it's got conflicting information here. Rate Beer's telling me one glass to serve it in, but the brewer recommendation is different. I'm going to go with the brewer, and it says that it's best served in a tulip glass, which is this one right here. There's the sun. Hello. Cool. Oh, it's quite a deep colour. It's deeper than I thought it would be. That was a shitty pour. That's my bad. Let's get a look at that. That's a deep gold. That's close to brown, actually. It's pretty cloudy. We've got a good finger and a half of head. Alright, I'll get a smell on this one. Alright, it's quite sweet, quite fruity. No, I'd say floral. Yeah, no, that's floral. There's a bit of caramel in the back. Maybe honey. It's quite sickly. A sickly sweet, sort of. Appearance-wise, I'd give that a 4. The head's a little weird looking. Can't really see it from that angle, but otherwise it's good. Smell-wise, I think I'd give that a 7.5. We'll round it up to an 8. There's nothing spectacular about it, but I like the different notes you can detect in it. There's definitely some caramel or some honey. 4 for appearance, 8 for smell. Let's have a taste. It's very bitter. That's probably due to the 5 different kinds of hops in there. I'm definitely getting a lot of the Cascade hops. That's probably the only kind of hop that I know the taste of, Cascade hops. It's quite earthy. I really do like the way it smells. Doesn't translate quite so well to the taste, I don't think. Yeah, it's definitely very earthy. I don't want to say dirt, because that's mean to beer. And I'm sure that plenty of you think that beer tastes like dirt anyway. I'm actually getting more floral notes than I thought on the first taste, but as it goes down it becomes very bitter. The bitter finish actually really adds to this. It feels good as well in the mouth, on the tongue. It's quite smooth. Almost creamy, I'd say. Not quite there though. Carbonation's spot on though. You never want a beer to be too fizzy. You'll just be burping up gas for days. For taste, it's really good. How specific is that one, Willie? It's a good bitter, and I like the way it finishes. You couldn't drink this too fast, though. That's one thing about it. That's not a bad thing. It's good to savour. Yeah, good. Does leave quite a strong aftertaste. I'm getting, you get little hints of the floral aroma on the tongue. I'm not really getting any of the caramel that I thought I smelled. I'm gonna give that 14 out of 20 for taste. But for mouthfeel, for me, that's a 4. It's just a little bit watery. The recommendation for serving this is 9 to 11 degrees. I think I've got that just about spot on. Any colder and you wouldn't be able to taste a lot of the flavours. Overall, I quite enjoyed drinking that, but I didn't get as many of the flavours as I thought I would. It was fun to drink, it's fun to savour. You couldn't knock a lot of that back very fast. I'm going to give that a 7.5 out of 10. So if you add all those up, that comes to 37.5 out of 50, which on the university grading scale would be a 75 out of 100, which is a B+. So this is a B+ beer for me. So it's not bad, certainly, but it's not the best I've ever tasted. Finish this off. I find it's quite a good idea to write it down as you go. It's no good trying to do things based off of memory. Writing down is also quite good for the maths aspect of it. God knows it's much harder to add these numbers up in my head without a reference. That's the other thing, right? Full disclosure, I'm really not an expert at rating beer. This is pretty much just a hobby, and I'm just trying to get better at it. So this is what these videos are, is me trying to become a beer critic. That'd be a pretty cool job, right? My stomach agrees with me. Sorry, I didn't say before, but the 5 Hop English Ale is 6.2% alcohol by volume, and that's 2.4 standards for this 500ml bottle. So the next one I'm going to look at is the Tuatara APA. Hophead heaven. I match. Look, that's how you know I've got my life in order. I dress to match beer bottles. God, could I be any more depressing of a human being? Right, so the Tuatara APA is an American Pale Ale. So this looks pretty good. It's 5.8% alcohol by volume. 2.4 standards as well. Well, that doesn't make sense. Let's do a bit of quick maths here. These are both 500 mils. This one is 6.2% and 2.4 standards. This one is 5.8%, 2.4 standards. I don't know about you, but I'm detecting a discrepancy there. Get it together, Moa and or Tuatara. So according to ratebeer.com, this is best served also in a tulip glass. So if you'll bear with me, I'm just going to go clean this one out. Be right back. Okay, I'm back with a pretty clean tulip glass. Now before I get started on this one, I just want to say that it's always best, if you're tasting multiple beers in one sitting, it's always best to cleanse your palate. The best things for that are normally water or water crackers, if you have them on hand. I've just got a glass of water. Bottle opener. Bottle opener? Just a reminder, I'm not going to be doing 3 beers every single video. It'll probably just be 1. And that's because a lot of craft beers tend to be higher alcohol content. And so it's not a good idea to do several full bottles at once. It's obviously a much lighter colour than the last one. Still working on the pours. I'm no bartender. First impressions is that even though I haven't put my nose in yet, but I'm getting a lot of that. It's really hoppy, floral and fruity. That is perfectly clear. It's actually not a light gold. I'd say that's a deep gold. I'll have a smell of this. That's very, very hoppy. I'm getting a lot of hops in that. This smells like fresh hops. A bit of mango, maybe. There's definitely a stone fruit in there. Yeah, mostly coming through is the hops, and so that is fruity rather than floral. I really like the way it looks. It's very clear. It's very golden. I can't not give that a 5. That's a 5 out of 5 from me. Smell wise, the hops are very overpowering, and there's not much else to it. So in that regard, it's kind of bland. I'm going to give that a 7.5. So now I'm going to have a taste. It's very interesting. It tastes the way it smells. That's very hoppy. It's quite sweet to begin with. And then as it rolls over your tongue, it gets very bitter. But the bitterness stops in your mouth, doesn't go down the throat, doesn't have a bitter finish. It's very smooth. The sweetness is the mango I was smelling before, but there's also some other kind of fruit there. I want to say passion fruit. Mango and passion fruit is what I'm getting. It starts off sweet, mango passion fruit, gets a bit bitter towards the end. Then as it goes down, you don't get that bitterness. It's quite sweet. I'm not 100% sure on the carbonation of this one. For me, it's a bit fizzy. The flavour is intense. It's got all sorts of things. It's sweet and then bitter and then sweet again. I've got to give that an 18. That's close to perfect for me. Mouthfeel-wise, I'm going to have to bump it down to a 3.5. I'm not feeling the carbonation. It is quite smooth, but it's also quite sharp. It hits the back of your throat hard, but it slides down nicely. This beer is a lot of fun to drink. Definitely need to savour it. This isn't one you can knock back all that quickly. It's not that high percentage, but it tastes like it is. I'd have to give this an 8.5. I probably couldn't drink too much of it, to be honest. I couldn't drink another one. So, let's tally up those marks. Somewhere between 42 and 43. Good job remembering me. So that gives it either an 84 or an 86, which is pretty good. So that's either an A- or an A. This is a great beer. I'd highly recommend it. Right, so got that one out of the way. Pardon me. Let's move on to number 3. So the third one I have here is Emersons Bookbinder. It calls itself a New World Ale. Right, so this is from a brewery that I talked about very briefly before. Emersons Brewery is based in Dunedin, and it was bought out by DB not too long ago. I didn't say this before, but the last beer I drank is from Tuatara, which is based in Paraparaumu, which is about an hour out of Wellington. I really like it. Hence the shirt. This is 3.7% alcohol by volume, so it's quite a light beer. This particular one is 500 mils as well, but it's only 1.5 standards. This is definitely one of my favorites. This is one of the first kind of semi-craft beers that I tried. So let's crack this one open. There we go. Bit fizzy there, but that could just be because I've agitated it. Rate Beer says this is best served in an English pint glass, so I'll just grab that one. And that's a third bad pour in a row. In any case, there's not a whole lot of head on that, despite my awful pour. I'd say a deep golden that's getting close to brown. There's about a finger of head on that. It's a little bit cloudy, but that's only to be expected, I think. It just looks so good in this glass. It's the perfect kind of beer for an English pint. So I'm going to have to give that a 4.5. My only complaint would be a lack of head. But you know what? Actually, no, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to have to bump that up to a 5. The lack of head is probably due to the lower alcohol content. I'm going to top this one up just briefly. Now that looks really good. Right, so let's get a nose. I'm getting a wee bit of... Oh, this is weird, but I'd say I want to say popcorn. It's very fragrant. Oh, well, no, I better have a sip of water before I taste this actually as well. Salted caramel, almost popcorny. In terms of smell, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 9. Maybe a 9.5. So I'm going to have a taste of this now. Yeah, the smell is quite indicative of the taste. It's quite a caramelly, popcorny, smooth taste. I don't know why I keep saying popcorn, but that's really what's coming through here. The fact that I'm getting a popcorn flavour for me tells me that the main thing that's coming through here is the flavour of the actual grain of the beer. It's a cereal kind of taste, is what you might say, which is quite surprising. For a 3.7%, it's quite heavy. Immediately, this tastes quite bitter, but as soon as you get past that first bitterness, that initial bitterness, it's very smooth. For the taste rating, I think I'd have to give this a 17.5. The mouthfeel, it's retained its head quite well, so it's moderately fizzy, but it's really smooth. And the fizziness only exemplifies that. You might say it's a bit too fizzy, so I'm going to have to give that a 4. Just some additional notes for the taste here. I'm also getting a little bit of fruit, a bit of tropical fruit. There's a wee bit of pineapple in there, I think, or something similar to that. For overall experience, honestly, I've had a blast drinking this. This is a 10 from me. I really can't think of a better beer to introduce yourself to craft beer with. My only real gripe with this is that it's quite fizzy. So, let's tally up those marks. That's a 45 out of 50, which is a 90. That's an A+. Well done, Emersons Bookbinder. If you live in New Zealand and you want to introduce your friends to craft beer, this is a fantastic place to start. It's light, but it's very flavoursome. It's aromatic, and you can really introduce your friends to all the aspects of craft beer with just this one. That tastes really good once it's got up to room temperature, so I'd recommend serving it cool, but letting it warm. Ooh, a little bit of continuity error. Hey guys, Sober Willy here, just stepping in to wrap everything up. Originally, I had a secret 4th beer that I was going to review, but a number of things went wrong there. The beer was flat, one of my neighbours decided to mow their lawn, and I was mildly incoherent. So all that footage is complete garbage. Anyway, if you've watched this far through, thank you. I've had a lot of fun with everything I've done so far, and I'm hoping to make a lot more of these videos. If there's a beer that you'd like to see me review, why don't you scroll on down and leave it in a comment for me. In the meantime, you might like to take a look at the other things I've made. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you around.